Jim, we'll maybe start with team news. Obviously, a lengthy injury list. How are the guys keeping?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been well documented in terms of the amount of good quality players that were missing. The guys in the treatment room are working really hard on them. There's one or two longer term ones, but a few of them are getting that little bit closer. This weekend will probably come a little bit too soon for some of them, but we're really looking forward to having those guys back, because the business that we done in the transfer window, I think, was exceptional. To bring in the quality of player that we did. I just think the frustration is that we haven't been able to get all those guys available to allow us to have the success that we wanted in those early games.
Is there anything you've been able to pinpoint as to why so many players are getting injured, or is it just a case of really bad luck?
I think it mostly comes down to bad luck. It's certainly the most that I've ever had in my time as a manager. I think if they were all muscular type injuries, then we would certainly be asking more questions. But there's an awful lot of contact injuries there that we unfortunately have got no control over. Ryan Strain, got a bang on the knee. Dario Namo, ankle injury. Obviously Isaac Papo over in Vienna, just a tackle. So there's not a lot you can do about some of them. The Ross Graham one was just kind of a carryover from last season. He just was getting similar problems with the same hamstring. So obviously we decided that needed surgical intervention. But no, look, we're pleased with what we're doing on a day-to-day basis in terms of the training and the intensity of that. We're not much different to a number of teams out there. Celtic have had injuries recently. Even Liverpool down in England. Frimpong has done his hamstring. So you can do everything right based on the sports science research that you've got available to you. But unfortunately, the sport that we're in, injuries happen.
Obviously a really disappointing result in the Conference League qualifier a couple of weeks ago now. They say time is the best healer. You've had this wee break. Any more chance to sort of reflect on that, or is it a case of sort of moving on now and putting it behind you?
Well, look, the European experience was great for everybody connected to the club. I've had lots of letters and bumped into a lot of Dundee United supporters in the last couple of weeks who have told us about the experience that they've had, and the most memorable time that some of them have ever had being Dundee United supporters, particularly some of the younger ones. The game in Vienna, the atmosphere, the performance from the players on the park. So it certainly generated a great deal of excitement. And the performance again then in the return leg at Tannadice, where obviously we get knocked out on penalties. So that was a really good experience, but it was certainly extremely demanding on the group because of the injuries that we had suffered. I think that's probably the biggest frustration that I've got as manager, is that we'll never know how well we might have done had we had opportunities to rotate the squad and freshen things up. But credit to the group that was available. There was a big ask for them to play European football on a Thursday and then play domestically on a Sunday, and I think that certainly showed in the league game against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park most recently.
Turning attentions to this weekend, first Dundee derby of the season, always an exciting game, one that you look forward to presumably.
We're all looking forward to it, yeah, and the new guys are really looking forward to it, because these are the types of games that are the attraction of coming to Scotland, and we put a kind of presentation thing together to help with our recruitment strategy and just to show some of the new signings, the atmosphere at games like the Dundee derby, and they were all pleasantly surprised at how well the supporters turned out and how intense and hostile the atmosphere can be, and I think all players are desperate to be involved in games like that. So this Sunday will be no different. There's a lot on the line for both sets of players, for both myself and Stephen, and for obviously the supporters. They all want to go to work on Monday morning with the bragging rights. So hopefully we can put on a good performance, get the result that we want, and it'll be the Dundee United supporters who are happy come the final whistle.
It is still early doors in the league campaign, but how important do you think 3 points, how big do you think that would be sort of for the confidence if nothing else?
Yes, we need to get back to winning ways. It's as simple as that. And we've had a really good week's training. We've been able to get a lot of energy and a lot of freshness into the group. And as I said, there's a real air of excitement now building up towards this big game. So it's I think it's equally important for both teams. I think in terms of getting those 3 points, and it's important for us. If we want to go and have the kind of success that we had last season, then we certainly need to get back to winning ways.
Just one final one from me. Obviously, you've got a new striker as well in Nikolai. How delighted are you to get him in?
Yeah, really pleased. He's a very, very good player. He's not an out-and-out target man, albeit, when you look at him physically, he's 6'3", 6'4", leads the line really well, but technically very good. Very mobile as well for such a big fella. He can go and lengthen the game, and I think it's another good, attacking addition for us in that area of the pitch. Obviously Max Waters unfortunately suffered an injury, but I think Nico will certainly come in and fill that void for us while we wait on Max's return. But he's a great age, he's got a lot of room for development, and he's a player that we're delighted to have.
Do you expect any more comings and goings before the window closes? Or?
No, I think we're pretty much done now. Obviously, the injuries have made us, question one or two areas of the squad. But given the business that we've done, we've signed 14 new players. I've got to be grateful to the board and to all of the people involved for helping us get the deals over the line. I think once everybody is back and available, then we've got a really strong competitive group of players that can go and challenge in this league.
Looking at Sunday, especially for the new ones that have come in, have you broken the news to them yet that there is no bus and they're walking up the hill?
Yes, they're aware of the tradition of walking from Tannadice up to Dens, and I've really enjoyed that myself last season. Hadn't never done it before, so I think it adds to the excitement of the occasion, and it'll be a new experience, I'm sure, for most of them, but one that we're very much looking forward to.
It's certainly a very different Dundee United this season from last season, but it's a different Dundee as well. Is that what adds to the excitement for you, preparing for this, not knowing really fully what you're going to get?
Look, I've watched Dundee, in pretty much every game that they've played this season, doing our research and doing our analysis, and I think they're a really well organised outfit. Defensively, they look solid. I think there's a clear understanding of what the manager's asking them to do, and similar to ourselves, they've added a lot of new faces. So, it's very much a different, two groups of players, and it'll be interesting to see, who comes out on top on the day.
And what's the most important thing that the players can do in their preparation this week to get themselves ready for what they're going into?
Well, our whole training, this week has been, geared around intensity and energy levels. I think in any game of this kind of magnitude, I think you've got to, show a level of passion and desire. That's what the supporters demand, and that's what they want to see from their team. So, the players will be fully understanding of what's expected of them, come kick-off at 2 o'clock.
And they'll be going into talking about passion, a ground where there's passion from all sides coming at them, something they're prepared for?
Definitely. I mean, look, I think the fixtures last season, both at Tannadice and Dens, I think the atmosphere generated by both sets of supporters was it's a really good spectacle. And of course, the most important thing on the day is to make sure your team wins, and that's all we want.
Luca, welcome back to Dundee United. This is the first time we've had the chance to speak to you since returning. How does it feel to be back at the club?
Yeah, really good to be back. Obviously, being back, I think a couple of weeks now. So yeah, well settled back in. Obviously, got to know some of the new boys, and just reconnected with the lads that were here last season. And yeah, obviously played the game a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, result didn't go too well, but good to get out there and get a game under my belt. Get back playing competitive football again, because that's been a while. But yeah, feeling good, feeling fresh and ready to go.
Obviously had a previous spell at Dundee United. What was it about the club that you liked and made you want to come back? Yeah,
I think a lot to do with how my time went out here last year, and a lot to do with how the team was last season as well. I think, when you have a kind of successful season as the team did, and me on an individual last year, I think you just want to replicate that. I think, the kind of reception I got from the fans, the appreciation I felt from the manager and the rest of the lads and the staff. I think, I said a lot of times in in interviews before, I think that's hard to come by, you know, to kind of feel that appreciation from all levels, and I just think, I just wanted to try and replicate that again this year.
Obviously Dundee Derby this weekend with a bit of a new look squad here. You're actually one of the only players that might have played in one of those before. Are you able to sort of speak to the newer lads about what to expect from that?
Yeah, 100%. I think the lads that were here last season, I know there's not too many, but we've got to take kind of that responsibility a little bit upon ourselves. I think last season there was lads who had played in it and I hadn't, and they let me know the importance it means to everybody at the club, whether it's the people that work behind the scenes at the clubs, the supporters, whoever it is, they let us know the importance. So I think it's part of my responsibility and others that kind of we let the new lads know that, you know, how big this game is at the weekend and how much it means to the people.
How's the squad feeling ahead of them?
Yeah, confident. Look, I think results haven't gone brilliantly of late. There's no mistake of that. I think obviously there's been disappointing to go out of a couple of competitions and not pick up the points I think that maybe the team deserved in the league as well. But I think there's been a real focus this week, and we've had plenty of time to rest after the busy start of the season, and we've had a couple of weeks to rest the legs and get some bodies back, and we're feeling a lot more confident, a lot more fresh, and I think we're feeling really, really ready for the game at the weekend.
Gaffer spoke very highly of your versatility last season with such a big injury list at the moment. Is that something, are you prepared to sort of play various different positions? Is that something you're ready for? Yeah,
100%. I think that's kind of my role in football now. I think obviously I've only been playing senior football for a few years, but that was a lot of my youth career as well, was kind of filling gaps here and there and playing wherever was necessary just for the team. And obviously with the injury list at the minute that we've got, I think wherever the gaffer has kind of calls upon me to play, I'm ready to do that wherever it is.
I'll just ask you one as well about pre-season. Obviously you were at Dundee United last season. In the summer though, you had the chance to sort of train with Liverpool and the likes of Salah and Van Dijk and all these, Robertson of course, famous to Dundee United. What was it like being in and around those guys, and what sort of lessons have you taken back to Canada?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I think obviously last pre-season I'd trained with a few of them before, but I think they just show you that, as much as I had a really good season last year, there's obviously other levels that I can take my game, and you do take your game up a level when you're around them players. They kind of help to bring that side out in you. It's nothing specific, just the ball does move that yard quicker when you're playing with players of that quality. And I think it's the new boys that come in as well. You can learn different bits around them, and they bring in their own ideas and their own bits that you can take and try and kind of bring to my game. But also I can try and help pass on that message to a few of the boys here that maybe haven't trained around them type of players before.
Does Andy Robertson speak a lot about Dundee United?
Yeah, he certainly remembers his time here. I think when we were out in Asia I had a good kind of 10-20 minutes talking just about Dave Bowman, to be fair, and just talking about his time that he still remember here, and how much I think he said he was only here for a year, but said how much he loved that, and he spoke really, really highly about the club.
How important in your development was it to go back to Liverpool and be involved in that pre-season down there?
Yeah, I think that does me the world of good. I think you only have to look at not just the players I trained with and played with, but look at the level of players I played against. I think against AC Milan, I played right back against Rafael Leao, who probably one of the best left wingers in the world, if you like. And I think that just gives me a reassurance in my game that I can compete against these guys. And I think that's massive for my confidence as well, that I can really challenge myself against this type of opposition.
And that helps you hit the ground running now that you've come back here to Dundee United, of course.
Yeah, 100%. I think especially having a good pre-season and getting the trust from the manager down at Liverpool to play plenty of games for the first team, confidence is sky high, and the minute I come back here and kind of get that connection going again with the lads and the club, it's just hit the ground running and go and do exactly the same again.
Sunday, different thing altogether. Dundee Derby.
Yeah.
What's the thing that's making you buzz just now?
Yeah. Derby days are always something to get excited about. I think that's all around the country everybody gets motivated more for a derby day, and there's no different about this one. It's a massive game, something I really enjoy, something I look forward to in the season. It's the first, when I came back up, it's the first game I look for of when was the derby day, and obviously it's come around really quickly for me, which I was buzzing about. And yeah, I think you always manage to find that 10-20% extra in your game when you play against these type of games and these type of teams, because you know it's just a game that means so much to people. And remembering last year when you do lose the games, how that feels. I know for supporters it's horrific as well, but for the players it's no better. But then when you win them games, you kind of feel, you know, invincible, you feel on top of the world. So I think to try and kind of thrive and get that feeling of winning a derby and kind of kicking the season and kick-starting the season will be unbelievable, yeah.
Dundee have changed very much so since last season. Again, new manager and things in place. Had your analysis with the management team and things this week, has that helped obviously prepare yourself for this game?
Yeah, of course we do. I know it's a derby day, but we will do the same prep for every team. It doesn't matter whether we were playing somebody from a lower league in a cup competition or we're playing Celtic, Rangers, Dundee. It doesn't matter, it doesn't change. We'll go through the same process every week of, you know, the same bits on the pitch. We'll focus on the same bits, you know, in the analysis room upstairs and pick out certain bits that they are obviously good at and they've got joy out of in the first few weeks, and certain bits that we think we can expose them, and we'll kind of work on that on the training pitch. And you know, if there's one-on-ones to have and different things to pick out, then we'll do that through the week and continue to work on that.
Have you set yourself any targets at all for this season who you want to get?
I think the baselines replicate what I did last year. I think I said to some guys before, last year I wasn't playing at 100% for big periods. So I think if I can replicate what I did last year and hopefully go further than that, for me personally, and then again for the team, can we replicate that again? Finish 4th last year. Can we go and hit 4th again, or can we go higher? And then obviously look, we've got one cup competition left. Obviously that doesn't kick-start for a while, but can we go far in that? Can we go deep in that? Can we get the national stadium? Go further? You know, we've got to look at that and try and achieve something this year. Yeah.